We are very privileged here this morning on the radio. We're going to have an interview with Leoni Gardiner. Leoni, are you here with us?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hello. Lovely to hear your voice. How are you doing on this wet morning?
Wet, yes, very wet, but I'm doing really well, thank you.
I'm glad. Thank you for taking the time to join us and all of our Faith FM listeners right across Australia. Leoni, I understand that this morning we're going to flesh out a little bit of what an alkaline and an acidic diet might look like and what this acid-alkaline balance is for our bodies. Now, these are terms that I guess we're familiar with back in science class at school, and here this morning I've got a lemon tea, which tastes quite acidic. Does that mean that I have an acidic system at the moment?
Really good question. I love that question. What a food is outside the body in and of itself, and what it becomes in terms of pH once it's metabolized inside the body can be two very distinct things. So that which is in the lemon naturally is a citric acid. Of course, as we know, citrus fruits are rich in citric acid. So if you put that in your mouth, yes, it feels and tastes quite acidic because it is. It's highly acidic. It's one of the most acidic things we can place in the body or in the mouth from that point of view. But once we swallow that lemon, and it is metabolized and it's broken down to a single molecular structure, like a glucose molecule. It goes into the little cell, into the beautiful factory in the cell of the mitochondria, and it's burnt there in a little furnace to create energy. And once it's burnt like any fire, it leaves an ash. And when that ash is left, it's like a chemical and metallic kind of residue. And then it combines with body fluids. And so once those body fluids are, then it creates an actual pH in that fluid. And because of the mineral content of the lemon, it actually creates a highly alkalizing reaction. So that's the difference. It's what it is outside can be very different to what happens and how the body receives it according to the mineral content of the food.
So because of that ash, that's how something like lemon now becomes what we recommend people drink when they wake up first thing in the morning to alkalize their system.
Correct, absolutely. And it is one of the most wonderful alkalizers, along with greens, dark leafy greens, just most wonderful alkalizers.
Is there some sort of, recipe or guidance that, someone listening at home could put into place if they have a lemon tree out the back or, going past their local supermarket, of how much or how often they should drink some lemon tea or lemon squeezed into water?
Yeah. So, look, it really doesn't matter that much. If you wanted to particularly alkalize, you might, have several of those drinks a day. But normally you would say the juice of, say, half a lemon in the morning. And, of course, that's a real variable. Some lemons are quite dry and others are really like a Maya lemon, which is really super juicy. But, you're probably looking at about a tablespoon of lemon juice per glass of water, warm water or cup of warm water. And that is sufficient to really give the body just a beautiful cleansing and alkalizing hit first thing in the morning, because we can wake up quite acidic after the body's been cleaning out through the night. And, so the body, it's been cleansing and it's ready to alkalize, it's ready to eliminate and all those things first thing in the morning.
Beautiful. So, Leoni, I guess a question, if lemon is not going to create an acidic environment, what kind of things do create an acidic environment? I'm assuming then it's, possibly some less healthy foods.
Yes, yeah, you're right and not so right. It depends on what kind of foods we're looking at. But if you're looking at, for instance, soft drink, Coke is probably one of our worst offenders, and many guys especially, but probably even a lot of women might know that Coke can be used to clean and, just get rid of rust on surfaces and all kinds of things. I think paramedics use it to clean up, terrible, sites where there's been accidents and things. Coke is so acidic. It's about 2.6 on the pH scale.
Right. And our body's normal
Mm-hmm.
pH level is 7 point.
So the blood pH is the one that really has a very narrow window of variability. And so that can really only vary from about 7.35 to 7.4, the blood pH.
Quite
and
specific.
so the blood, very specific. And, we're not monitoring that consciously ourselves all 24/7. We don't think about our blood pH, but thank God we've been given two wonderful organs that constantly do monitor that pH in the blood, and that is the lungs and the kidneys. So getting back to the Coke, that's like 2.6, and your average soft drink is about 3 on the pH scale. Is highly, highly acidic, mostly because of the refined sugars, of course, in them. The content, like there's about 14 teaspoons of sugar, I think, in a can of Coke. So white, poisonous substance that it is, and highly, highly acidic. So, but when we talk about foods that mostly people eat, well, what would be on that side of the scale would be things like meat. All the meats are quite acidic. They're high in uric acid. And you've got cheeses.
Foods, cheese.
Highly processed foods, cheeses, yellow cheeses particularly. Of course, alcohol, tobacco, caffeine, Australia's darling, the morning coffee or coffee all through the day. And it creates a very acidic condition in the body. And then you've got things like even some of our grains, like wheat is probably a fairly major offender, not because wheat in and of itself originally was that way, but the wheat that we have access to in the West these days is a hybridized wheat that was developed in the 1950s, and with good altruistic motives. It was to try and arrest a terrible starvation, famine in a number of continents. But the problem was it wasn't tested on human physiology, and so we don't actually have the capacity to break that wheat down, and that's why we have a lot of issues with gut problems and gluten intolerance and celiac issues, because people can't tolerate the wheat that is pervasive in our food.
So what is the problem with having too many of these acidic drinks and foods? What consequences will it have on the body?
So what if you're doing over time? For instance, I had someone who came to me and she had drunk 2 liters of Coke a day for 20 years. And she said, when I was sharing this lecture, she said, no wonder I am so sick. She said, I had no idea. So the point is, over time, the body is amazingly resilient, and the lungs and the kidneys can keep up so much. But if they become overwhelmed because our diet is too acidic, we're drinking too many acidic things, the ratio should be about 20% acid to 80% alkaline intake. That it's not a 50-50. It should be about 20-80.
Okay.
But when the body's receiving too much acidic food, and very often that's our convenience food. We're flat out, we're stressed, we just got to grab something on the run, and so they're high carbohydrate, high wheat, highly processed foods. Then the balance gets tipped, that delicate balance, and so that can then create a rise in acidity in the cells, so and also in the blood over time. So the lungs and the kidneys can become overwhelmed, and it can lead to a condition where the body's a little bit unable to keep up, and so the body has to go to 7. There's about 7 buffer systems that the body has. Remarkably, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. The Bible says
God has an answer. He has a way.
He does have a way. So the body will go to these buffer systems, and so when it gets to the extreme, I call it goes to the 7th and the paramedic of the buffer systems, and it draws out the most alkaline substance in the body. And guess what that is?
Is this from your bones, calcium?
Yes,
So
calcium.
Brittle bones, osteoporosis. This is one of the consequences of having too much acidic food and drink in your system.
Absolutely. So the body's in a crisis, and it knows what to do to meet that crisis, so we don't go into condition of acidosis. But there's a cost. And so, the calcium's drawn out of the bones, which is a wonderful thing because it's just a neutralizer. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't move like like sulfur is the most acidic sort of substance, and it's sort of hot and fast, and, it goes like at the speed of light. But calcium is just sort of doesn't even move. But just its presence in the bloodstream when the body draws it out of the bones will neutralize that acidity. How remarkable is that?
Praise God. He has an answer for everything. So I guess if we now turn our focus from acidic foods to alkaline foods, what are some alkaline foods, and what are the benefits of having more of those in our system?
So, because so for a lot of people today, we are suffering from all kinds of kind of infections. I mean, that's always been the case. Humanity's always, infectious diseases have been the big thing until the modern chronic degenerative diseases. But in terms of things that happen, and yeast build up in the system, or exposure to, fungus or to bacteria, or, that happens. So we can end up with sort of, and lifestyles that are probably our biggest problem, because we have moved so far away from a natural lifestyle where we would be exposed to these wonderful things that govern our health, like sunshine and fresh air and pure water and exercise and good sleep, really quality sleep, and beautiful natural foods and so on, where we learn to trust in God, trust in a divine power, and where we got, rest, what else am I thinking of? But anyway, and we were temperate, we didn't indulge perhaps so much as we can do today. So all of these things individually actually are highly, if we do the right things, if we expose ourselves to things and implement these into our daily schedule, they're all very in and of themselves, as is a really good plant-based diet is alkalizing predominantly. Depending on the ratio of acid-forming and, alkaline foods we can take in. We can eat lots and lots of carbs on a plant-based diet, but that's not a great thing either. We need balance. Everything's about balance.
Yes. And so really the benefits of that alkaline diet, or the alkaline system, because you mentioned it's about lots more than just diet. It's really quite holistic across the lifestyle. What are some of those benefits there? Is it anti-inflammatory? Do we start to see the disease processes reversed?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the disease model, if you like the health model would be, these lifestyle choices, like, good nutrition, good exercise, water, sunshine, being temperate, moderate, fresh air, rest, trust in divine power, all those things, they are highly alkalizing. But what was your question again? Sorry, I just got a bit sidetracked.
That's okay. The benefits of the alkaline system. Yeah. So
that would be the health model. Yeah. Yeah. So that would constitute the health model. And the disease model, contrary-wise, would be things like, oxidative stress, inflammation, acidosis, connective tissue damage. It might be, free calcium excess, which is what we talked about. We have too much calcium being drawn out of the bones, and calcium having, got to be placed somewhere in the body after it's neutralized acidity. So that becomes a problem.
So as we, I guess, in our last couple of moments here, what is a takeaway that someone can do to optimize their blood pH? What could they have more or less of today that would place them in a better position to take care of their acid-base balance?
Beautiful. Yeah, look, basically to implement those lifestyle behaviours would be good to counteract the acidity. I just should say the stress and the cortisol levels are also highly acidic. So we're all basically much more acidic than we should be. So really it's about modulating stress, about sort of taking on board those lifestyle behaviours and choices. Yes. And in terms of foods and drinks, the great green drink is a great way to go. If we can do nothing else, I mean, if you could get four cups of wild crafted and beautiful dark leafy greens and 4 cups of water and make a green drink every day and drink that throughout the day, that would be amazing. That's such a wonderful alkalizer. But otherwise, green powder and have greens powders every day, and lots of fresh vegetables and leafy greens and so on. Wonderfully alkaline.
Fresh fruit and vegetables, dark leafy greens. And Leoni, just thank you so much for taking the time to join us this morning. We really appreciate your wisdom and insight and making that very practical.